what we're about to dive in today. So this is my like a summer series. It's really featured different women in business because I just feel like everyone is so unique and we can all learn from each other. And thank you so much for being here today for the guest of the week. So I was actually reading some of your bios, and I know we have connect for months, we collaborate, and I just always want to say thank you so much for being on top of everything. And then I feel there's so much more that my audience and people can really learn from you. And then, so I also want to just encourage everybody, make sure that you all go check out my story yesterday because Rachel had shares. And I thought, at first, before we actually even dive into the topic, I just thought that this is such a great quote. That the first one is, you mentioned this is one of your favorite quote, and then your inspiration to really drive you further. So if people like you, they will listen to you. But if they trust you, they will do business with you. Okay. I thought that's just such a great thing because it's so simple, but often people have forgotten. So without further ado, let's dive into our conversation. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself and what has made you to start your own business? Because I think people who are watching, who is Rachel? What does she really do? So please take it away.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you brought up that quote. I think it's a fabulous quote. I think it's really at what the heart of sales is and the importance of why we build relationships and how important trust really is in the transaction we have with people. So I'm glad that one spoke to you as well. So yay. But for those who aren't familiar with who I am in Seattle, Washington. So if you haven't visited, it's a beautiful place. I love it. I am a true coffee lover. So yes, it's true. We love coffee here. But I started my business in 2020 because I worked in the fine jewelry business for about 8 years, and I worked in retail sales for a combined 12 years. And one thing just continued to come up is that I was so tired of seeing poor customer service. And a lot of it comes down to how we sell, how we're taught, how we're trained, the leadership. And I knew that we could do so much better. I worked as a store manager for many years. I oversaw multi-million-dollar stores and knew that I didn't want my team to be like that. And so that was a huge focus as a manager for me, was training them how to really hone in on client experience and get people to keep coming back and increase traffic and sales as a result of it. And so you could say I'm also just really obsessed with sales. I'm always learning about it. I think there's ways that we can always improve, and that sales is really just, it's a life skill, right? It's a communication skill. And so you can only benefit from getting better from it. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know if that kind of answers.
No, that is so good. Honestly, I love when you say that sales is a life skill, and it is part of big communication. And that's why so many people are afraid of sell. And then they also afraid of, like, they don't want to sound salesy. So I want to say kudos to you and thank you so much for realize that the fact is there are a lot of people. I've been in the retail world for a long, long time. So I know what is a lot. And it's just like you're saying. And I want to say thank you for making that determination is, you want to be a sales coach, you want to be a retail strategist to help people to gain more sales. Because if we're in the business, we have no sales, it's hard to help us to continue to maintain and operate the business. So I want to say thank you so much for bringing so much of wisdom when it comes to sales. Very accuracy, so is a life skill. You are so right, Ruchika. Okay, well, the obvious and next thing is I would love to know, just like many people would like to know, why don't you share, anything insightful in your industry? Because I think that there's always something that we can learn. So share what is happening in the sales, maybe over in the retail, or anything that we can really learn from in your industry.
Yeah. And hi, Ivy. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to everyone else that's joining in to listen. And I just want to say too, if anyone has any questions, please make sure to drop them. I would be more than happy to answer them for you. And tell me a little bit about you, where you're from. I love to just know where everyone's from. So, but anyways, yeah, I think going back to what I just said is, people forget, we often feel really pushy when we're selling, right? We're like, oh, it's this chore, I have to do it. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? Sales is communication. It's making people feel good. It's something like, I always like to say, like, your biggest asset is your customer, right? And if you're not making sales, you don't have a business. And it really is the heart of what you do. And I think we want to like push that aside. And so chances are, if you're feeling a little pushy, you just haven't learned sales, or you've learned some bad habits, right? Because I've never seen sales as being a bad thing, right? It's a service. You are helping someone feel like a hero. You are helping someone improve their life. And it is a disservice not to sell and help someone, right? With the knowledge that you have, with the products that you sell, or anything that that you provide, right? And so I think so often we forget that sales really is about serving. I know we've all heard that term before, but that is the point, is that we're serving people with what we have, that we make their life better. And I think another aspect of sales that we often overlook is how important leadership is, right? And it trickles down, who taught us, and if we have teams, how we set the example for our teams. And a lot of sales and communication is habit forming, right? And maybe Claire, you can agree with this as well. Is so often we're like, I just want to know how to do this quick. I just want to know how to close the sale now. Like, give me that quick hack. But like, it's not like that. It's a habit that you have to form, to repeat over and over again, to really start seeing that long-term success. And of course, there are sales psychology hacks. Like, don't get me wrong, but that's one thing I feel that often gets kind of misunderstood. And then the other thing, oh my gosh, I could go off about this for so long. But you really cannot expect people to come to you. I think we're really afraid to take initiative, to get out there. But taking initiative doesn't mean that the first thing you say to people is, hey, are you ready to buy, right? It can be as simple as saying hello and introducing yourself and building a connection and networking with someone, right? But it's putting yourself in front of the right people and becoming visible to them so that they build a connection with you. It's communication, right?
I love it. I want to just draw back, like months ago, we did a big collab, and it was under the Digital Bosses with my business partner, Joseph. It was called the Visibility Challenge, and Rachel was part of the guest speaker. And I just have to say, like, how much I have learned and blown away. And in fact, it's that, because even though, yes, I have always been in sales, retail, started with working retail, and then went to the back end, like doing product developing, buying, blah, blah, blah. But I'm still like, taking initiative was something that I always feel like, oh my God, the follow up. Oh my God, right. The next thing is like, oh wait, I have to be taking initiative, talking to people, building the relationship, having the conversation. And then when I thought about that, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate it. Even though I can say I'm pretty good at sales. In my past sales record, I have always I have like maintained good sales. Otherwise, I would have been already fired. But it's just always something I was like, oh my God, like I have to go through all this, and I thought that the first thing you have mentioned, and this is so insightful, when whoever you're in the business, how can you take in control? How you can be initiative and talking to people, and just like you say, it's so always you just say like, it's like checking with your friends. You will check your friends all the time, every once in a while. How are you doing? How's life? And then
right.
It is simple, but we have overcomplicated. So I thought that's such a great thing, like what you have shared. And those are things that I think people can really learn from you, especially I know now you also you have a big experience from the retail world. So why don't you share, that's another insight I feel we can learn from you. How do you see in terms of from your retail world experience and then shift to the virtual world? Do you see there's any differences? And how can like people like you who are also like, getting into that the virtual world, how they can really combine both? Because I feel that is also another thing. Often people feel like, oh, you know what? It seems like a two different world. How do you combine both together?
Yeah. So I think a good like visual to think about is like taking initiative. And I'm going to relate this to online too, is, in a retail store, we have a set time, right? Like you might be open from 10 to 8, right? And so you open your doors at 10 a.m. and you're like, I'm open for business. And so you're saying, come on in, come by, come shop with me, right? And so you wait and you wait and you wait for the traffic to come, right? Maybe you've got some beautiful visuals out there to try and encourage people who are walking by to want to come in. Maybe you're positioning yourself in a certain spot of the store so that you're readily available. Or, you know, there's so many things